Hello, a guten Erev Yontiv, a guten Erev Yontiv. Today we're holding right before Chag Shavuos. In Melbourne, it's an hour and a half before Yontiv. So first of all, how are you? I hope everyone is gesund, stark, und freilich, begashmis und beruchnis. I hope everyone is healthy, strong, and happy physically and spiritually. It says that by Matan Torah, everybody became gesund. Whatever ailments, whatever limitations you had in health, all became healed during Matan Torah. So too it should be with this Matan Torah. Everyone who has any limitations or hindrances, or pain or suffering, chas v'sholem, that's connected to gesund, should be gesund, stark, and freilich, begashmis, and beruchnis. We should also be zeicher to the Torah Chadasha, miti teitzei, from the Eibishter himself through Mashiach. Amen, Ken Yiratzen. Today we're going to talk about, obviously, Matan Torah, Shavuos, and the lessons that we derive from it, and connected also to Pirkei Avos, and also Yom Aleph, the Chag Shavuos, is also the Yom Ha'ilula of the Heilige Baal Shem Tov. And what's the connection between these three things? So first of all, we'll start with the prayer as usual. We say this every single day during Chodesh Elul, this Kapitel Chav Zayin, and there's the pasuk that says, Achas shoalti meis adinoi oy so avakesh shifti beveis adinoi kol yemei chayai lachzis benoyim adinoi levake vecholoi. Eibush, I only ask of you one thing, and one thing alone. Shifti beveis Hashem kol yemei chayai. I would love to sit in Besmadrish and Shul all day long and learn and daven and connect with you. So now that it's coming to Matan Torah, Shavuos, the Zohar says, is the Yom Tov, which is Emtzeisa Dekula. It's the central point of Judaism. In a certain sense, we could look at Shavuos and say everything starts from Shavuos, because that's Matan Torah. Without Torah, we have nothing. So everything comes from Torah. Therefore, the focus obviously has to be to concentrate on this idea of Torah. What is Torah? What are we celebrating? There's a lot what to speak about, and as usual, in Yiddishkeit, everything's connected, especially in Chassidus. But this is what we should be asking and thinking about tonight, tomorrow, and for the next 2 days. Our thoughts should be focused on Achas Shalti Meis Hashem, Oysa Vakesh, Take, Sosa Neichelim Nesecha. Do we show the Eibishter how Torah is the best as Chayra? Do we view and perceive the Torah as our greatest treasure? Shashuai, the thing we enjoy the most, the thing we talk about the most. This is our life. And that's the main lesson we have to take. So we'll start with a pasuk. What I'm going to say now is basically based on the Sikha of the Rebbe in Chelik Dalid, Parshas V'Eschanan. Over there in Parshas V'Eschanan, we have the Aseres HaDibros. The Aseres HaDibros are twice. Once in Parshas Yisrei in the Torah, and once in Parshas V'Eschanan. In Parshas V'Eschanan, there's a verse that says, Es advorim eile dibur Hashem el kol kahalchem bahor. This is one of the major innovations, or chidushim, uniqueness to the event of revelation of Matan Torah, that by Yiddishkeit, Hashem himself revealed himself to the entire nation at one time. Together. As we say, the truest moment in history that had the most witnesses was Matan Torah. Hashem revealed himself to the entire nation. Mitoch ha'esh, honam v'arofel, koil godel v'lo Yosef. It says it was a giant voice, a great voice, which did not stop. Okay. So Moshe is saying what happened, and he says there was a koil gadol, a great voice which did not stop. Rashi brings down two interpretations. What does it mean that it was a great voice that did not stop? But the Rebbe brings down another three interpretations from the Medrash. And the Medrash says one interpretation is that koil echad nichlak lezayin koilos, there was one voice that divided into 7 voices. And these 7 voices then ultimately became divided into 70 languages. In other words, Hashem spoke, the great voice, It was heard in every single language. That's one interpretation. So V'lo Yosef, it did not stop, meant it shows on the infinity, the lack of limitations to this voice, that it went into every single language. Usually when you have a voice, it's one language. And over here, it turned into 70 language. So it shows that it's unlimited. The second interpretation, another pshat in the Medrash is, Shemimenu nisnabu kol hanavim sha'omdu. From here we see that from here came Shemimenu nisnabu kol hanavim sha'omdu. From this voice, it represents the idea that it goes on and on in time-wise. That from this voice, it didn't stop, but it continues continuously, and from that voice, all the prophets derive their messages. It's the same voice. From the voice of Matan Torah, everything else became revealed in the future to the Nevi'im and the Chachomim. Shebechol dor v'dor. As it says in the Medrash over there, Af HaChachomim ha'omdim bechol dor v'dor. We're talking about Rishonim, Tanoim, and Amoraim. HaChachomim ha'omdim bechol dor v'dor. V'kol echad v'echad kibul hashaloi misinai. Everybody, all of those great giant scholars, received a revelation that was given at that time by Matan Torah and continues to, I don't want to use the word evolve because it's a tricky word, but it continues to extend from the time of Matan Torah, but it came down at that time, and then that same voice comes to the scholars and to the prophets, and that's the voice that tells them what to do and gives them guidance and halachic rulings and responsa, etc. That's the second interpretation the Medrash brings, and the third interpretation is that it has no echo. Usually a voice has an echo, and over here it doesn't have an echo. So the Rebbe asks a simple klotz kasha. The first two interpretations bring out the infinity of the voice. Infinity in the sense of lack of limitations, that it's all languages, and also lack of limitations, that in time-wise, it went on and on. But what's the third point? That it didn't stop. What does it mean it didn't stop? That there was no echo? That means it didn't stop? On the contrary, one could argue and say that means it stopped. There was a voice, and that's it. There was the voice of Hashem, and then it stopped. If we'd say there was an echo, then you could say maybe there's a continuation. But to say it stopped, why does that show on the power of the voice and of the quality and the superiority that there was no echo? So before we get to the answer, the Rebbe in that sikha elaborates on the first two interpretations and what it means for us today. But first, he also sheds light. What happened by Matan Torah? And once we understand what happened by Matan Torah, what was the novelty of the revelation, then automatically we'll have the answer to the question about the echo. So first let's talk about Matan Torah. This is one of the famous questions brought down in Chassidus many, many times. And anyone who's a student of Chassidus knows this question and knows really the answer in different ways. And the question is, there was always yeshiva. It says that all our forefathers learned Torah. And we know even Shevet Levi were always the teachers, even in Golus Mitzrayim. So the question is, if we already had the knowledge before, so what happened in Matan Torah? What new thing came down at Sinai that we didn't know before? That is the question. And the answer is, before we get to the ramification and the impact and the difference, what is the accomplishment? As I heard from Rabbi Yael, ad der Rufte von Matan Torah ist nicht, was gegeben geworden, nor wer hat es gesagt. The novelty of Matan Torah wasn't so much the content, the knowledge, but where it came from. In other words, before Matan Torah, this was connected to a level of godliness. God is lowering himself to mankind to speak in their language or to give them rulings and guidance for life. But by Matan Torah, it wasn't that he gave us a guide for life. It's not that he's lowering himself to mankind. He's revealing himself in his very essence. I used this analogy before, and I hope it's not so bad. You know, in the story of the Megillah, it says there were the king's riders, and they come along and they unscroll the latest edicts of the king, and they announce it in the name of the king, ding, 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 in the name of the king. So it's an order, it's an instruction, it's an edict, and it's in the name of the king, and therefore you better listen to it. But it's in the name of the king. It's not as if the king himself came down in his essence to visit this town or this city. That's why you have Achashverosh, Lahavdol Vavdalis, and he's a Melech B'Kippur, he's a ruler of 3/4 of the world, 127 countries, but he can't be all over at the same place. And how does the world, all the countries that he rules over, find out about what his instructions are, his commandments? He has the riders, and the riders carry a scroll, and then they unscroll and they say in the name of the king. But if the king, imagine if the king himself would come to that town or that city, it would be a whole different sort of reception. Because the king himself is coming. Whatever the explanation is, we can't explain the totality of Judaism in one shot. But the story of Yiddishkeit, of Matan Torah, is that Hashem himself, the essence of Hashem, our Hashem is higher than his name, but his very essence inserted himself, God DNA, into the Torah. And that's how it's explained. And Chassidus talks about this at length. The Gemara says the word Anochi is Hoshatevis, Ano, Nafshis, Ksavis, Yavis. I put my essence in my writings. Now's not the time to wrap your brain around how this works exactly, but we say that what's written in the Torah is not because it happened. There was an Avram and then Hashem wrote it. Alpayim shana kodma Torah la'ilam. There's a concept of Avram that's in the inner workings of Hashem's brain in essence. Torah is chachmosei atzm shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's there because it's Hashem himself. It's a revelation of the inner workings of his mind, and even deeper, it's a revelation of his inner workings. Who am I? Not my will, not my even intellect. Who am I? And this is how Chassidus and Kabbalah talks about Anochi Havaya Elikecha. There's an Elikecha, that's a Shem Elikim. That's Hashem's channel name when he's dealing with the world in a natural way. So-called Mother Nature, but Hashem nature. Hashem in the nature channel. Then we have Havaya, Yud K Vav K, which is connected primarily to Eden, which is Hashem's infinity channel. But then we have something which is higher than the name. Not even Shem Havaya, higher than Shem Havaya. Yud K Vav K is called Shem HaEtzem, Shem HaMefeirish, and it has deeper levels of halacha that are associated to it. Over here we say, there's a noichi, as a person who says, I, not my name. Because no matter how high a name is, it's still only a name, it's a channel, it's a label. It's not the essence himself. And over here by Matan Torah, the Eibishter inserted God DNA, Atzmus Mahus, and no Nafshis, Kavis Yehovas, into the Torah. Now everything else connected to Matan Torah is V'idach Pirushahu. Therefore, before Matan Torah, a mitzvah didn't have the power to transform the physical because there's a limitation. Since it's dealing with a limited spiritual level, so the spiritual is limited to the realm of the spiritual. And it can't permeate the physical. But if we're talking about essence, essence has no limitations. And it's the essence of everything. The essence of the world is really connected to the essence of Hashem. It's just that in the Torah, Yisrael, over there is the essence revealed. But when Mashiach comes, we're going to see how this essence is in everything. Their role is not to directly reveal God right now. That's the role of the Yid and Torah and Mitzvahs. But in the end, that's what we're going to accomplish. So what is the idea of Matan Torah? The idea of Matan Torah is Hashem inserting his essence into the Torah, and he gave it to us. We're connected to Hashem, the King, not as he stands in the balcony and addresses the nation. We're related to the king, Haviyane HaMelech Hadarav, the way the king is behind closed doors. Where Hashem goes, where Atzmus goes, there goes the Yid. There's no difference. Shtei Chatzot Tzuras. They're both connected, essence to essence. And that's what Yidden are, and that's what the Torah is, and that's what Hashem is. And that bond, that covenant, happens by Matan Torah, not before Matan Torah. Now it's interesting, very interesting, to look at the Alter Rebbe in chapter 36 of the Tanya, where he's talking about the purpose and the tachas of all of Torah mitzvahs, and he says it's to come to Mashiach, to see the Dira B'Tachtonim, how the world is transformed as a dwelling place for Hashem. But he says, for us to understand, first he says, what's going to happen when Mashiach comes? And he says, to understand this, let's go back to Matan Torah. So he connects the beginning of Ata V'Chartanu Mikolo Amim. He connects the beginning when we really became a nation. At Matan Torah, and he gave us the Torah. He connects that moment, that greatest moment in history, with the ultimate climax of Mashiach. So let's read a bit of the words of the Alter Rebbe in chapter 36. So he talks about how the essence of Hashem will be revealed in this world, and what's going to happen then is that it's going to be that it says over here that the teacher will no longer hide from you. It goes on Hashem himself. Hashem will no longer conceal himself from you with the edge of a robe or garment. And your eyes will behold your teacher, going on Hashem himself. Which means that we will see Hashem in all his glory, in his nakedness. As it's brought on Chassidus that there's a certain law that a melech is not allowed to be seen orum, but it's understood that in his dira, he's in a matzah that he's orum. In his very essence, in all his glory, without any without any tzimtzumim, without any diminishing or lessening of his very essence. And that's what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. And that's one of the explanations in Chassidus of why we say the word Dira B'Tachtonim. Where do you see the real true person? In his entirety, in his totality, behind closed doors, only in his home. That's when he takes off his shoes and lets his hair down, so to speak. So too will be when Mashiach is going to reveal itself. When Mashiach comes, by the Geula Mitzvah Shleima, Atzmus U'Mahus, the essence of Hashem himself, will be revealed in its totality in this world. And that's what it means. We're going to see Hashem in his essence, higher than names. Our physical eye will connect, will see things the way Hashem sees things. And then he says, we can't elaborate now, which is going very, very bekitzer. And then he says, if you want to have an insight into what's going to happen when Mashiach comes, study the experience at Sinai. You, Hashem, revealed yourself that we may know that Hashem is the Lord. There is nothing else besides him. When the essence of Hashem is revealed, that means that the essence of Hashem becomes absorbed, felt, throughout existence. The ultimate truth of existence is revealed, and the ultimate truth of existence is Eneid Movadei. And the Alter Rebbe says, you actually revealed yourself, which means that it was in a way that we're able to see it with a physical side. And then he says, and so too toward the 4 points of the compass and above and below. Hashem's words came from the entire of creation. As explained to Kunizeh, there was no place from which he did not speak to them. Everything, it was revealed in the world that there's only one existence, Hashem, and that resounded and resonated throughout all of creation. So this is what the Rebbe explains. When you say echo, echo is something else. Echo means first you have a voice, then there's a hefsek, and then we hear an echo. But actually, if there's an echo, that means there was a stop. There was a barrier. It didn't let the voice permeate totally, and therefore it bounced back. The Rebbe actually in the Sikha brings an example of a ball. He uses the word ball. Like when you throw a ball, it's going to bounce back when it hits the wall. The ball against the wall bounces back because there was a barrier, and therefore it comes back. But since by Matan Torah, Kol Godel, there was the ultimate greatness, the revelation of the essence of Hashem. So during the Aseret HaDibros, we heard it from the entire world, resounded, resonated. It wasn't an echo. But then, it didn't stop. What does it mean it didn't stop? It permeated every single thing through and through. So if there was no echo, when it was spoken, it was heard in the totality of existence, because the totality of existence reflected the ultimate truth, that there's only one existence. But that's what it means when we say there was no echo. It means that it was the moment of truth, of what is the true definition of all of reality. Ein it movade, because the essence of Hashem revealed itself, and the essence of Hashem is the essence of everything. And this thing, connection to the Baal Shem Tov, which the Baal Shem Tov, everyone knows, one of the Torahs that is always repeated in his name, one of the sayings that he always used to say was, the Eibishter is Als, and Als is the Eibishter. Hashem is everything, and everything is Hashem. Chassidus explains how it's a very, very deep concept. There's a difference if I say the Eibishter is Als and Als is the Eibishter, but we'll leave that for another time. But the general point is the idea of Achdus Hashem. The Alter Rebbe and the Maggid and the Baal Shem Tov, they all constantly spoke on this concept of Achdus Hashem, Ein Yed Movadei. And that is really the story of Judaism. From the first second of Matan Torah, that the essence of Hashem's oneness was revealed throughout creation, how everything is Echad, and this will be revealed totally, not only as a one-off event, which keeps on happening since Sinai, in essence, but in a revealed way, 24/7, when Mashiach comes, it's going to explode completely. We'll soon get back to what does this all mean in practical, but first I want to go back to the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that I spoke about last week, but I didn't connect one thing. We mentioned the Mishnah where it says that you should look at the luchos, yeah? And we say Encha ben Chayrin. The Mishnah Beis in Perek Vav, we said Valuchas Ma'aseh Elikim Ema, the luchos were the work of Hashem. Va'michtav Elikimhu Choros ala luchos. So it was engraved on the tablets. And from here we learn Al Tikra Choros ala Cheros. Don't read engraved, but free. She'encha ben Chayrin, there's no such thing as a free man. Elamisha Isik b'Talmud Torah, only somebody who is occupied with Torah. So last week we didn't connect the Choros and the Cheros. They go hand in hand. It's not that they're two separate Perushim completely. And this is what it means over here. The lesson we take when we say that there is no echo means that Torah nimmt dat durch der Metzias im Ganzen. This is what we have to think about. This Shavuos. We should become Mashiach-dik and Shavuos-dik. What does it mean? We're not learning Torah as something that's one of the activities that we do. But you become a Torah Yid, like a Torah folk. What's a Torah Yid? A Torah Yid means this is the centrality of your life. And you're learning Torah permeated you from your head to your toes. And this idea that the Torah nimmt dat durch dein Metzias im Ganzen, just like by Matan Torah, there was no echo, because it permeated the physical completely. So too when you're learning Torah, it has to permeate you completely. There's a Chassidische word that the Alter Rebbe said about Ekev, Asher Shama Avram, Bekoili. As by Avram Avinu, what happened? Ekev, Asher Shama. The Piata that heard. Ekev means because he listened. But the Chassidic interpretation, Ekev can go on the heels. His heels were pumping with the vitality and energy of godliness. The godliness permeated even his heels. And it's connected to the pasuk, which goes, Kol atzmei saitei mana, all my bones proclaim you. Which means that Yid was learned Torah. He has to shackle, and it goes, he gets excited, he gets involved. His body is shaking. It's a total experience. So that's on a physical level, but on a spiritual level, on a psychological level. Who are you? I go to work. There's some things that I do. I go to work. I take medicine. I do some exercise. I go for a walk. I eat. But that's all around. What's my identity? Ich bin a Torah Yid. Ach, Hashalti Meis Hashem. It permeates completely. My worldview, my perspectives, the lens which I look at everything is Torah, Torah, Torah. And that's what it means that it permeates. Not only in the physical sense, called Tzmeisei Tamana, but also in the sense, we spoke about this many times. Today, my friends, listen to me. We're very secularized. The secularization of the world is all around us. And we have to be very, very careful. And one of the things which people like to say all the time, let's say imagine someone's talking about a subject, about marriage or education. All the more we're talking about matters of life and death, abortion, euthanasia. And somebody is shy to say, my opinion about this, the teacher should do this, the rabbi should do this. It's unbelievable how people walk around saying, my opinion, my opinion. Your opinion is not important. The opinion of the Torah is important. Did you study what the Torah has to say about it? That's what it means, that the Torah nemta durch dein Metzias. That means that whatever subject you're talking about or thinking about, the first thing in your head, your brain is triggered to think only in terms of one way. Was is das Torah? What does the Torah have to say? Now you could say, that I have a nefesh Bahamis, and the nefesh Bahamis has my spirit of my nefesh Bahamis, or my certain tendencies of my nefesh Bahamis would make me think a certain way, but I know that it's not the right way, or at least it's not right now in sync what the Torah view is. What I'm going to work on myself is that I should absorb. That's what it means. I'm going to absorb the opinion and the das and the likus, what's in Torah 100% until I take a seed also with my seichel. So this is a very, very huge subject we talk about, and we say Kol Gadol Yosef. First of all, it means on a universal level. We have to realize the Rebbe in that Sikha, we're running out of time now, so we're going to stop. The Rebbe in that Sikha says a phenomenal story in Gemara where it says that there was one person, a Zaken from Galil, who had the cane of Reb Meir, the stick, Makal, and he learned from it. Because the tzaddik, when he learns Torah, the Torah permeated the physical possessions. That's what we mean when we say, when you're learning Torah in your address of your home, in your desk, in your room, there's godliness that's coming down into your table, into your room, and it's transforming it. That's part of it. We have to believe that every single second that we're learning Torah, we're conquering the world, conquering the world, conquering the world for Hashem. We're actually transforming the world, making the world, the physical world, a better place. Because since there's Atzmus in Torah, and the idea of the essence of Hashem, which is in the Torah, is a level which is the oneness of Hashem. So therefore the whole point is that we were given the ingredient, the DNA, to impact the world, to reveal that truth in the world. We're not just doing something spiritual, we're doing something physical that's changing the world. Number one. Number two, we have to feel that in ourselves. Learning Torah is not just something we do. That's our identity. My existential being is a Torah Yid. And that's what it means, that it absorbs me. From my head to my toe. And including that, it's my identity. And therefore also, my perspectives and everything comes from the Torah. Because that's it. The Torah is my oxygen. The Torah is my blood. The Torah is my life. The Torah is my soul. That we should help. That we should absorb all of this properly. The Kabbalahs The Kabbalah Satayra means the way we absorb it. The Kabbalah Satayra B'simcha B'primis, and we make the proper preparations for Matan Torah and absorb it properly, then we should help, that we should see the Gilui of the Torah Chadasha, the Gula Hamitzvah Vashleima. Take it from Ad Mamish, the Kabbalah Satayra B'simcha U'B'primis. Good Yontif. Posting from my home, Be'ez Hashem Yisborach, you're a man in Melbourne.